There's no doubt that what we're seeing with anti-Semitism right now is a direct consequence of the conflict overseas in the Middle East. The heat against Jews is still bubbling away, and the number of anti-Semitic incidents that we saw this summer is now the highest on record, and it's likely that by the end of this year we'll have the worst annual figure on record. We know from the work that we've done with European anti-racism agencies and also with the police that about 70% of anti-Semitic incidents in the UK are never actually reported to anybody.
We know the numbers are up. The baseline is very low, and even though it has tripled, it's still low. But I think the level of how safe do I feel, what's going on, where is my neighbour in this, there's a sort of deep, I think, from a lot of people, a feeling of being disconcerted. But what it does to us is it presses that Holocaust button, that insecurity button. It doesn't take a lot to trick Jews into, I'm scared. We know the patterns of Jewish history, thousands of years of Jewish history where we have been expelled from places or slaughtered from places that we have citizenship and have been completely integrated. When you start feeling uncomfortable about broad generalizations, there's already that echo of, what does that mean? Am I seen as an individual or am I seen as a Jew? So once there are generalizations made negatively because of your ethnic identity, I think that's anti-Semitism.
Anti-Semitism is the longest hatred, but it's also the most documented hatred. It's what I call kind of a pret-a-manger of hatreds, because you've got it easily digestible in various forms. So the concept of Jews founding and living in a state that was supposed to be given birth after the Holocaust, actually doing bad things to people and bad things to children, it fits into the paradigm of the so-called righteous person doing something quite evil. At the synagogue, on the wall where I happened to do security, there was daubed above the stained glass window, "Free Gaza." Now, in itself, the term "Free Gaza" is a political statement, daubed on a synagogue wall, a house of prayer, where Jews who come to pray is a form of the part for the whole. It's collective guilt. You people, you Jews, holding the individual responsible for the state of Israel. That's a very subtle form of anti-Semitism.
Britain is a very tolerant society. I think it's a society where people generally try to get along. There's this sort of new politically correct approach to racism in general, where you don't want to say that one form of racism is more prevalent or more worrisome than another. So instead of saying anti-Semitism is a massive problem at the moment, people will say all racism is a massive problem. We've issued new guidance on hate crime, whereas really there needs to be new guidance on anti-Semitism. I'm a British Jew. Even if you think that Israel is some kind of appalling pariah, there is absolutely no excuse for displays of anti-Semitism. So the law needs to be very strict. If British Jews are to feel safer than Jews in the rest of Europe, the only way that's going to happen is if the law is enforced with zero tolerance, and when people do cross over from their anti-Israel rhetoric into anti-Semitism, they need to be arrested, they need to be prosecuted.